Welcome to episode number 3 of the Down South Hunting Podcast. Adam, what's up?
Oh, man, not a whole lot. Just sitting on the sunny beach of Florida right now.
Oh, I know a little bit about that.
Yeah, opposite end of the state of you, but it's nice.
It's a little warm for my taste for this early in the year, but I know it's coming, so I'm ready for it. Well, it's still spring a little bit. You still got any turkey hunting left in you?
I have one more trip at least scheduled. I'm getting to actually hunt with one of my, what I would call turkey hunting mentors, a man by the name of David Booger Maynard, and he's kind of a turkey hunting legend in a small circle in Tennessee and Alabama and other states.
Sounds legendary.
With a name like Boog, you have to be legendary.
You better be legendary.
You got to be. And if you ever meet the Boog, you have to ask him about why he's called the Boog. But he's got red hair, flat top, about 60-something years old. I won't guess his age. Yeah, but he's a great guy. And one of the best doggone turkey hunters I've ever been around in my life.
A ginger booger.
Definitely. So, yeah, anyways, we're going, he's going to take me out. I actually leased the property that he used to lease for like 20 years. He and another guy that's still a leasee member with me, myself and my brother, they leased it for 20 years. And for 20 years, they would tag out, they would bring friends and be able to kill birds. So this farm really produces turkeys. And Boog had a couple of different properties, and he decided to stop leasing it, which gave me the opportunity to jump on with my brother. But anytime I get a chance to go with the Boog, I literally will, because as he'll tell you, anyone that's ever been turkey hunting with him has either shot at or killed a turkey. He has never taken anyone that has failed to do that. So I hope to not be the first, which we've been together and he's called me one in, so I don't know if I really count at this point. But he's 100%.
So how many tags do you get? How's your season been so far? You got tags left, I guess?
Unfortunately, I have 3 tags left. My brother and I, we doubled up on opening day. It was a great hunt. The other leasee member, he and his wife, they both doubled up on opening day. So that was 4 birds that were killed right off the bat. But we had 12 strutters that we had really been keeping up with right before season started. So we knew that we had eight longbeards hanging around the farm. And anyways, long story short, we had 7 guys from Arkansas come in, not lease members, just friends of the farmer, and they ran up and down the dirt roads on the Ranger. They ended up killing 7 birds according to the farmer, and it's really put a kind of a bad taste in my mouth, obviously, since I paid good money to have the hunting rights, and then someone else kind of took that. So according to our numbers, we only have 1 gobbler left, and we have been kind of keeping tabs of him, and I know where he's at. And really haven't had a chance to hunt him because I've been at the ballpark with the boys and decided not to take any vacation time this year with all the other hunting PTO time that I've got scheduled. So I'm looking forward to one last hunt with the Boog, and hopefully they'll go out with a bang.
Yeah, make it happen.
We just got to get you into turkey hunting next year. That'll be the thing.
I hear you. I'm ready.
Well, why don't you tell me a little bit and all the listeners about huntinggeardeals.com? We haven't really went into that yet.
Okay, cool. So last year, I kind of got the bug to start my own business. And as we know, I love hunting. And another thing I'm really into is finding a good deal. If I was ever shopping for a new TV or something, I'd always check a whole bunch of websites online. And something about saving that extra $20 was always worth it to me, even though sometimes it could be pretty time consuming. And on hunting gear, I wish that there were some websites I could go to and kind of do the same thing. If I wanted to buy an expensive tree stand or a trail camera, I always wish there was one place I could look rather than 25 different stores. So I got the idea of starting a deal site just for hunting gear. So I paid a developer and had a website built, and basically every day I list the best deals on hunting gear I can find. I spend about an hour in the morning looking for deals, and I post them up, stuff that I think guys would be interested in. And of course, the best deals I can find. It could be trail cameras, tree stands, boots, any kind of camo. There's a lot of deal day sites I check, and Amazon, Walmart, that kind of stuff. So far so good. It's been growing in traffic, and I think it's a big help to hunters that are looking to buy some gear.
As I've said before, I've obviously got some use out of it. I've bought a few things from your references. I follow you on Twitter, and that's really kind of how we connected, was off of a conversation on Twitter one time. And I would recommend people definitely going and checking that out, especially now daily. I know I bought a trail camera that you posted on Twitter. I think it was a bunch of stealth cams that went from anywhere from $38 to $75, and I've been happy with that so far, just kind of testing it out. And ready to put that over a mineral station, not supplemental feeding stations, Daryl Radijak. So we appreciate it. Oh.
I try to post enough stuff that it's worth checking every day. There might not be something that somebody's interested in buying every day, but the thing is, you never know what kind of deals or sales are going to come up. And sometimes it's the kind of thing where it's worth buying something even if you weren't quite ready to pull the trigger, just because the savings are good enough. So now we got several months before hunting season. But once in a while, there'll be a deal that comes up that, there's not going to be another deal like it before season. So sometimes it's worth just pulling the trigger on it.
I'm a really big planner too, and I literally plan out everything going on up to my hunting season as far as trail cameras and what purchases I'll make. And in the months of May and June, that is the months that I actually purchase all my gear. So I think now is the best time to find deals on hunting gear. So it's a good time to talk about that.
One thing I try to keep in mind with times like now is like batteries and SD cards for your trail cameras, which you might not think of as necessarily hunting gear, but it's definitely something you're going to need. And if you can buy those things ahead of time instead of buying them at the local store, you can really save a ton of money. I mean, maybe 25, 30%. And if it's, a last second purchase, it may be even more than that. So if you can plan ahead a little bit, there's definitely some savings to be had.
No doubt.
So this week we got we got a friend of mine coming on, Captain Billy Henderson, and he's going to talk to us some about gator hunting, turkey hunting. He does deer hunting. He does some traveling out west. I think it's going to be a really entertaining, interesting conversation. And this year I'm hoping to do some gator hunting myself. So I'm hoping to learn a few things and start planning ahead for that trip.
I'm hoping to get some gator tail. So if you could get me some of those gator bites, it'd be great.
Man, well, I got to make it happen. So we'll figure it out. All right, man, let's get him on the line. And on the line with us, we got Captain Billy Henderson. He's actually a friend of mine. I sell to him in my day job. He buys some composite materials for a boat company that he runs. But I also know that he's an outfitter here in Florida, a big outfitter that does Osceola Turkey, alligators. He does hog hunts, I'm sure, as well as some other stuff. So, Billy, can you just kind of tell us about what you do and what your hunting background is?
Okay. Yeah, how y'all doing? I've been doing this my whole life. I've been outfitting and guiding fishing for almost 25 years now, and been hunting my whole entire life. I was born with a fishing pole in one hand and a gun in the other, so that's all I've really ever known. But I guide full-time saltwater flats fishing, as well as alligators, Osceola turkeys, hog hunting. I got a high-fence ranch where we do some exotics on here in just north of Trenton, Florida. And, we just stay busy year-round with the different species that we hunt all the time.
How's your Osceola turkey season been? I know we just wrapped that up here in Florida. How'd your season go?
We just finished up. I had, I think out of my whole entire season worth of people, 2 guys didn't kill a bird. So I usually run about 30, 31 hunters. I have 20 different farms that I guide turkey hunters on. So I know 30 hunters sounds like a lot, but it's not, when every farm I have could produce 5 or 6 birds, and we only take sometimes just 1 or 2 off of each. So we went 29 for 31 and had a great season, and it's about that every year. Last year was 100%. The year before was like 1 short of being 100. So we kill a lot of birds, and usually when we don't kill one, it's just because of some hunting circumstance. This year it was a lot of heat. It got really hot on us, so it really slowed things down at the end.
Yeah, it's been real hot and dry down here. We didn't really get much of a winter this year, did we?
No, it was pretty pathetic. Our birds were breeding, in fact, in January, and first week of the season, I saw hens with poults already. So that tells you right there that it was going to be a tough year. But we still killed a lot of birds. We had a lot of great hunts, had some of the awesomest video that we've ever had this year for some hunts that just really put on a show. So it was fun. We had a good time, and only a couple guys didn't kill. Of course they hate me, but
Yeah.
that's how it works in the outfitting business. You can't make everybody happy in any service business, I guess you should say. So.
Well, I was going to ask, since you have this strange breeding period in Florida, and I've never hunted birds this far south, if you've got pouts on the ground, you said what, in the early season, which would have been mid-March in Florida, is that right?
Yeah, late March, the end of March, we had hens already have them. We didn't start till the 18th of March here in my zone, and the 27th of March, we seen a hen out in the field with babies already, and I'm just like, you dread to see that. That means it's so far along that it's close to ending, and a good 3 or 4 or 5 day 90-degree heat wave could put the gobblers all back in bachelor groups and back in the swamps and really make it tough. But I have a lot of farms, and I move around, and we stay on the birds that are working, and we leave a lot of farms unhunted till the very end, so we got fresh properties to go on. And if you have the ability or lucky enough to have as many properties as I do that you can do that, you can keep it going to the very end. Some cases it can be really tough. Public land hunting can be really tough if you don't have a lot of the public access around where you live at. And, of course, pressure on public land makes it really hard. So the heat doesn't help those guys. We have some really good public land here. We have some special opportunity draw type places here that are extremely good. And you just got to kind of know where to go and what to put in for and how to hunt safe around the public, absolutely no strutting decoys or nothing like that, or you're liable to get shot, it can be crazy.
How are birds responding this time of year? Well, I would say, about that first week of April into mid-April, are they responding to calling pretty good since they're that far along in the breeding cycle?
Yeah, typically, you're gonna, when those hens are all finally getting bred out and you're seeing them go to nest, it's easier to kill them more mature birds that was running the show at the beginning of the season. A lot of my hunters that come back year after year, they know to come down, that first and second week of April. Don't be scared of the very end of the season, because you're going to find them birds that, are starting the bachelor group back up, but will still respond to calling. And you may call in 4 longbeards together with no hens, and you can kind of take your pick of the best one. So there's ups and downs. Now, if you were hunting public land and those birds got pressured real hard, then no, that would be bad. But on my private property, the last week of the season, we killed some of our most mature birds because the hens have left them. Now they took back over, and they're responding to the calling first. So it can be really good like that.
I was going to say, that's kind of when the beginning of my fun of the turkey season really starts is, if the hens are on nest and you can get a bachelor group of gobblers together that will respond, man, it could heat up fast. I mean, you can kill a bird within a few minutes after calling him. So I kind of thought that was interesting when you're telling me that. It got me itching to go to Florida a little bit more than I already was, just to get an Osceola. So I'll keep that in the back of my mind.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. They can definitely get fired up. I had one of my Cabela's reps down here hunting with me about the second to the last week of the season, and 4 birds were gobbling on the roost, hit the ground. Two of them came running to us. I mean, they were there before it even got good light. Come in almost wouldn't stop to give us a shot when we did shoot the one. The other one stayed there for 30 minutes. We started talking to him and just making a funny video at that point. And it's on my Facebook page, and it's hilarious, talking to him about Turkey Lives Matter, and he's gobbling at us. And this is a mature 3-year-old bird and we were zooming in on his big old hooks, and I couldn't believe that an Osceola gobbler is doing this. And this turkey was just distraught that we just shot his buddy, or probably his brother. And it was the funniest thing ever. So that was a cool video that we did that day.
I'll post a link to that up in the show notes.
That would be pretty cool to check out.
It's still on the Facebook page, and it's pretty cool. It's a really neat video.
I wanted to ask, as far as public land is concerned, I've looked into hunting Osceolas a lot, and I'm always trying to kind of cheap out is about the best way I can call it. Save some extra cash, but I've heard it's really difficult to find access where you can kill a true Osceola and also be able to have access roads to get into the public land areas. Is that pretty challenging in Florida, or are there some hidden gems, which you don't have to mention any hidden gems, but are they out there?
No, yeah. I don't mind that at all because I don't utilize those places at all, but I do know about all of them because I've been here my whole life, and of course I used to hunt that way. Yeah, we have what's called special opportunity drawings in Florida where you have to put in as a resident or non-resident, and you have an equal chance of drawing it. And if you do, like we have a particular one close to here where I live called Homosassa Management Area. It's 5,000 acres, give or take, and they only issue 10 turkey permits a year for it. And it's a lottery, and not a lot of people know about it because I have a customer who draws it like every year, and of course the tag's transferable, and he gives me the tag every year. And of course this year the tag went unused because I was busy and ended up not even using it myself or giving it to somebody else. So we have places like that where you can apply for, and if you get drawn, you're on one of the state's elite properties, and there's quite a few of those here in the state. There's also some good straight up open public land, but unless you know somebody who lives by it, who's got a little honey hole in there, for a non-resident just to blindly come down and pick a public land management area that's open, completely open with no drawing permits, that you need, it would be tough because you hear a bird gobbling and so does 10 other people hear him, and they're all converging on him, and it just makes it tough. So you got to do your homework, and it'd be best to truly to know somebody who has a place close to home who's like, yeah, come down, this place is great, I know a good spot. Other than that, I would look at the special opportunity management areas that Florida has to offer.
You do some trade ups with take guys on turkey hunts that maybe from the Midwest or something, trade them for a deer hunt?
Yeah, I've done that a lot in the past with turkey hunts and as well as with gator hunts. I've hunted just about everywhere in this country that there is to hunt for deer and whitetail, mule deer, and elk, and I've done a lot of it. I started out doing it with doing trades, and now I pay for a lot of hunts, and I know a lot of outfitters because of the business that I'm in. So at this point in my life, if I want to go kill an elk, I call a buddy and go to Montana and kill an elk or a muley or an antelope. I know all those places to go because I've been doing it forever. But yeah, I do a lot of trade type hunts from time to time with somebody from Iowa or somewhere that I'm interested in going, has that same kind of hunts that I do that we can swap back and forth.
Man, you got me thinking. First, I need to figure out how to kill one for myself. Then I need to find one of those honey holes you're talking about and start making some trades.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's say a guy from out of state's interested in killing an Osceola. What type of hunts do you offer as far as like for the experienced guy versus the novice? Somebody may have killed tons of Easterns and wants to get an Osceola, or a guy that has heard how cool Osceolas are and wants to experience killing a turkey, period.
Yeah. A lot of the guys that come down are booking who are either starting or partially through it or need to finish their slam, and they need the Osceola to do it. So they'll call me or call through one of my booking agents and schedule a hunt. And, I talk to them and ask them, how much they've done it, and whether the guy's an expert or this is his first turkey hunt ever. I run a lot of blinds because blinds save hunts. These Osceolas a lot of times will make you sit for a long time, and you'll hear him gobbling and he'll shut up and he'll sneak in. Well, if you're on the ground, nobody can sit still that long in the open. So blinds absolutely save hunts on these Osceola turkeys. So we use a lot of blinds, and I'll either tell a guy, I'll either be with a guy in a blind if he really needs a caller, and be there with him and use what I know to put the time in and get that bird killed. Or if I got somebody who's comfortable and says, no, I don't mind sitting by myself, I'll give him the instructions of what to do. Of course, I run 60 cameras, so I know every turkey that I got on my property and what they're doing and what times they go here and what times they go there. So I'll give him, that knowledge and, guide him towards killing his bird. And, the Osceolas, you just don't call nearly as much as you do for some birds. Now, some days you get on one that just won't shut his mouth and you can have a ball with him. Most cases, they're pretty weary. They know the routine. We're flipping nature by doing this anyways. So they can be tough, and you may not even ever see more killings, so you play that game. But I do cater to both. I talk to them, give them the options of what we can do. Some guys don't want to hunt in blinds. They just want a running gun. And, of course, I tell them that's based on what the turkeys are doing. We can't run and gun a bird that ain't playing that game. So we have to hunt them I want you to kill your turkey. I'm going to show you how to kill your turkey based on what they're doing at that time. And that's why my success rates are like they are. And that's why the 5 biggest booking agencies in the United States use me for Osceolas, because of my track record. So I know how to kill them. And as long as the hunter will do the old don't guide your guide thing, then we'll kill birds. And I can get anybody on one, from a little kid up to an experienced hunter.
Yeah, I guess you got to be careful with the guys that want to run and gun. I imagine, most guys that maybe like that better than sitting in a blind, but you got to be careful if you got these farms and you got guys running all over them, they probably can ruin your farm pretty quick.
Yeah, you can't allow people to do that. I tell them a lot of times we can do more harm than good. If it's hot and he's hanging out underneath the edge of an oak tree not talking anyways, and you're walking around trying to make him talk and you're bumping birds, you're doing more harm than good. You're damaging my property, and I just don't allow that. If they do it the way I want to do it, we're going to kill a bird. Sometimes it's not as fun. Sometimes we got to still hunt them, and nobody likes that. But I tell them, you're down here to kill an Osceola, not to make a TV show. Let's get you a bird killed my way, and you'll go home happy. So everybody's happy when they get to pull that trigger. So
I think that's some pretty good advice for turkey hunters, period, because I believe, most of the experienced turkey hunters out there, we realize that, but if we're running gunner at heart, it's just so hard not to just get up and go after those birds when they're not gobbling. But, in the back of your mind, especially if you're hunting field birds, like sometimes it's just better to sit still where you're at in a blind, especially, and just wait on them. And you'll be a lot more successful and fill your tags. I have that problem, so I'm going to try to – I know what my problem is. A lot of times I can't sit there in that blind, but I need to.
I'm the same way. I'll be in, and I'll tell people, if you do this – now, I mean, I've watched literally thousands of these things get shot over 25 years. And if you play the game right, it's not hard. I mean, if you just can't run around yelping it on a mouth call like crazy all the time. You spend a week in the Osceola Turkey woods, you don't hear a hen hardly say nothing. And if you're walking around doing that in the middle of the day, they're not stupid. I mean, they know he may pop off at you from ways off, but if it's too close, he's going to red flag it, and he's not coming nowhere near you. The patience game will always prevail over being crazy. And again, sometimes you get on that one that's just that TV show bird that never shut his mouth, gobbled every breath, and come in running. 99% of the time it's a 2-year-old or a Super Jake, and those are awesome. But it's not like that every time, and you will do more harm than good by running around on your properties like that. And we don't have the big giant tracks down here to run and gun like they do up north and out west, where some of them people are used to, them 100,000 acre public land, national forests. We don't have that here. So you don't have that ability to do that. So we trained ourselves to hunt smarter, and it's more efficient. I mean, it's hard to say you can kill 30 turkeys in a year, but my God, we do it every year. So it takes some learning to figure all that stuff out for sure.
Well, let's we got summer coming up here, and a lot of the tag drawings are starting to, the applications are starting to come out. Let's talk alligator hunting a little bit. I guess for starters, I guess we're speaking general terms because we don't want to cover just Florida. We'll cover the whole, South area. What type of areas should guys be looking for if they're new to gator hunting? What type of, maybe pre-scouting can they be doing?
Well, the first thing I look at anytime I'm going to hunt, I mean, I've hunted every unit that Florida has, so I don't have to do it anymore. But most states, I know ours does, and I can't vouch for everyone, but I'm sure they do. They have summary data. And I can go, if I'm thinking of, I'm going to put in for this particular lake this year, maybe I look back at history and see what's been taken out of there. And there's a bunch of 9 to 11s. That's the stuff that I'm interested in. I'm going to put in for there. If there was, 6 10-footers killed the first week and then a bunch of 8s after that, nah, that's not what I'm looking for. So use that state's website, and if they offer summary data, from the past history hunts, use that to determine if that's a good place or if it's not. That's a great place to start. Of course, a lot of guys bass fish on these lakes and stuff, and they see these big gators, and that don't always mean you're going to kill them during gator season, because they are extremely smart. When an airboat starts chasing them around with a Q-beam, they turn wild real fast. So it's experience as much as anything. But for the first time guy, use that data that's available to them, and if you got some buddies who will talk to you, ask questions, see what's going on. see what other guys have killed in the past, and learn good tactics. These guys who run around with these airboats with spotlights, chunking spears at them, and they got 4 or 5 lights going. These alligators don't like that. When I'm with a gator hunter or we're gator hunting, I have one light, and it's not super bright. I mean, you and me and a gator all together don't like somebody to shine a 3 million candle power Q-beam in our eyes. You want to turn your head or go under, because that's not cool. But we sneak around with these LED stream lights, and it's not nearly as bright. And of course, I always hold it just below or just above his eyes, enough to illuminate them and hide us behind it, of course. And we sneak in on these alligators. I mean, it's a hunt. These guys who run around wide open in the airboats would drive me crazy. I mean, just literally, they're scaring every gator. They're educating so many alligators, because every time he hears an airboat and sees a spotlight, he goes under. Well, then he starts associating all that together, and that's how they get educated, same as any animal. So be smart, hunt quiet, get the tools that you need. You know, I employ a bunch of different methods, but you know, just learn. It's a real learning curve in this gator hunting world, and you can look at the stats and see it going down over the years as more people get into it who don't know. And I do a lot of seminars and try to educate people. I don't hide nothing. I'll tell you my best spots. Just if you would hunt right, everybody would have great hunts, because there's so many big alligators in some of these spots. But you let one airboat fire up 3 miles away and watch all the gators go down, that's telling you they've been educated. So not that there's nothing wrong with airboats if you use them right, but some of them that just, you know, we've all got our opinions of everything, but they drive me crazy.
So far on this podcast, we've upset all the guys that hunt at Homosassa, and we've upset the airboaters. So let's keep this going. Tell it like it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't mind it, and you know, and we do sometimes too. But I use it as a tool to get me to where I'm going, and then I shut it down and use that electric motor. We all know as hunters we can get lazy, and the tools that we have today can make you lazy and cause you to, like we said about the turkeys, you get bored, you don't want to sit, you want to run a gun, and you end up hurting yourself. We all know how wild animals are, and if you be patient and be slow and be quiet with them, it's always going to work better. It will come out better in the end. May not be the funnest way you want to hunt, but it's what works. I mean, a 10 or 11, 12 foot alligator is going to range from 25 to 60 years old. He's not stupid. He's done this before. And just like a big buck starts hearing the trucks roll into the woods before daylight, that big alligator starts seeing the airboats roll out every night right at dark and shining spotlights everywhere. They associate all that. Not just airboats, any boat. You know, I've been on the lake and have a bay boat come by with 3 guys up front, all shining spotlights different directions, looking like an airport landing strip. That's spooking everything. If I'm going after a gator, I'm focused on that gator. Even if I can see another set of eyes off to that one side, I'm not looking at him and back and forth, because I'm educating him. I'm letting him know something's out of whack. I'm going to focus on that gator, and then if he don't cooperate, I'll turn my attention to the other one. I don't move my light hardly ever. I mean, if I'm on a gator, I don't shine it behind me to see what my guy's doing. That light's job is to be focused on that gator with no light behind me. So there's tricks to make all this stuff work to your advantage. And we kill about 200, 240 a year, and we do because we hunt them right. I mean, I feel like I've mastered this stuff by doing it for a living. And, you know, I wish I could teach it to everybody, because we would all have a better experience if we all hunted them the way I feel is right. Of course, everybody has their own opinion. So that's, you know, how that works.
Well, hopefully we can get some word out here. Let's start talking equipment a little bit. Maybe we can start at like the easiest way to get into it, the easiest way to get a gator. So let's say a guy's never done it before, and he's going to try to get out and go and do it on his own. What type of equipment would you recommend for that guy?
Well, the easiest way, or the most common way, I'll say, and the most cost-effective way is, of course, in Florida, for doing the public land hunts, you have to have a bang stick, because you have to dispatch the alligator with a bang stick. We're not allowed to carry a firearm to shoot the gator. If you're a licensed LLC or a concealed carry permit holder, you can have your handgun on you, but we're not allowed to use that. You have to bang stick the gator. So number one is a bang stick in any caliber, from like, I use a 357, a 44 is good. I know guys that use 223s. Anything, it's more of the concussion that's killing him than anything. So any moderate sized caliber bang stick is fine. And then a good rod and reel with heavy braided line and a big treble hook. You can shine a light and get close to that gator and throw that hook across him and get him hooked. And as long as you're not in a lake where the vegetation's so bad that he rolls up in the weeds so thick that you just can't get to him, that's a great way to snag a gator. They're not very athletic. They pull hard for a few minutes, then they get tired, and they let you pull them up to the boat. And at that point, you can either harpoon them to get a heavier line into them or bang stick him and kill him right there beside the boat, with your treble hook still in him. The way we do it the most is with a crossbow. I have a 10-point crossbow set up with a AMS or retrieval reel on the bottom, shooting gator line, 640-pound test braided spectra fiber with that heavy arrow. And I actually call the gators into the boat. I can call an alligator right to the boat to where he bumps into the front of the boat. And my hunter will shoot him right in the middle of the back, anywhere but the head, get that arrow into that gator. And once we do that, we've got him. Then that line's attached to a float, and we use that line to tire him out to the point to where we can bang stick him. So that's another common way. And then the third way that we're allowed to do it in Florida is we can bait pegs. We are allowed to use a little 2-inch long, 1-inch diameter wooden dowel, put it in some sort of food, chicken liver or chicken lung, fish, whatever, make it float on the surface, stay attached to it and get back as far away as you can, and wait till a gator eats it, let him swallow that peg. And then you can't fight him and bring him to you with the peg. It's mostly just a locator. I'll use that to let the gator, I'll spook the gator, make him sit on the bottom, which is their defense mechanism. Use my electric motor to get right up to him, and I'll either snag him with the rod or use a bigger hook with a grapple rope on it and really hook him. And then one of my favorite lakes to hunt, that's how we kill a lot of 11 to 13-foot alligators. Them old ones that are too smart to be called in will never let you sneak up on them with a spotlight. They can't resist food. So we'll put bait out, we'll back 500 yards away, and wait till he takes that bait, and then we got him. I mean, that's foolproof. That works every time.
Wow. Man, that does seem like there's are there some tricks to the trade as far as bait and that what kind of bait you use and some of the better methods to do that?
Well, I'll depending on where I'm at, where I hunt most of the time. I mean, alligators eat fish a lot, so I'll use fish. I'll go and either bowfish some tilapia or go buy some tilapia, some Nile perch, and I'll take a little piece of flat styrofoam to make him float. Wedge the peg in there, use a rubber band or a string to hold it in place so it don't pop out, so he swallows it with the fish. And I'll go out we're allowed to start hunting on the public land at 5 o'clock, which is 3.5 hours before dark. I'll go out in the evening when they start moving, use my binoculars, look at some gators, find a big one. Usually when you run at them in the boat, they just go down. So I'll see one, that's one we want to go hunt. We'll take off over there with the outboard. As soon as he goes down, go right to where he was, drop a bait. And free spool the reel and take off like we're just leaving. Just not trying to be sneaky, just leave with the motor running and take off and go as far as the line will let us and stop and shut down. And within 10 minutes, he'll pop up. And if he's in the right direction of that bait to smell it, or if you tug on a little bit, he'll go right to it and he'll eat that bait. Give him about 10 minutes to swallow it down to his belly so he can't just spit it out when you go back after him. And then when I go back after him, I don't try to spook him with the outboard. I troll in there quiet. I just he sees me coming and he'll go to the bottom, but I don't want to agitate him too much. Then we use the line that he swallowed to get right over him. No pressure, just use it to locate him. And then I have a long rope with a big heavy grapple hook on it. We drag along the bottom when we feel him. We yank it and hook him, and boy, it gets fun then. Because if he's 12 feet, somebody might get drug off the boat. So you got to be real careful doing that. But that's an exciting way, because it's really cool to sit back with binoculars and watch that big alligator find your bait. I mean, that's really neat to do. And there's some art to it, because if you try to use it to pull on him, he'll spit it out. You can pull it out of his throat, and then of course you're not getting near that gator again. So the trick is to use that line, that swallowed bait peg, as an indicator only. Don't try to fight him with it, because 9 times out of 10 it'll pull right out of his mouth. Because he'll start death rolling when he realizes he's caught, and open his mouth, and it'll come right out. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's a cool way to do it if you got the conditions, which means on the big lakes where the big alligators 99% of the time want to be in big water. They want to have their life taught lesson is go to the bottom. and that's how you're safe. So they're going to go out in open water, and if that type of lake is where you're hunting at, he's going to go find open water, and that's a great scenario for bait pegging is open water. You don't want him to be able to get in any grass or anything, and as long as the conditions are right. Okeechobee, for example, it's a big lake. If the conditions are bad, then you can't even get out there to where those biggest alligators are.
I was going to ask how long they can stay on the bottom. I've never actually hunted alligators or
Well,
anything of that nature.
I can tell you for a fact, you'll read that they can hold their breath for 30 minutes. I can tell you for a fact that we have sat on one hooked for almost 3 hours. In a lake right here local to where I live at, we snagged one time, a big one in the channel, and he went to the bottom. And at 2 hours and 45 minutes, we decided, and this ain't no joke, we decided he must have got off. We must be snagged on the log. Let's break it off. And so we started pulling extra hard, and off he took again, and he came up 2 hours and 45 minutes later. So,
that's amazing.
They have the ability to stop their heart rate, stop their heart down to a beat a minute if you read about it. And of course that don't use a lot of oxygen. So it depends on what you've already put him through beforehand, how long, if he's already wound up and he's out of breath, or if he was relaxed. And we snagged this gator and he just went down. So he was never stressed. So he had him a big breath of air, and he surprised me. I never knew one could hold their breath that long, but I was personally there and seen it happen. He was on the bottom for 2 hours and 45 minutes before we finally got him to come up.
Man, talk about a waiting game.
No kidding.
Yeah, tell me about it.
If it's a big one, though, I'm sure it's worth it.
Well, I tell people that all the time. You know what? These animals live out here. We want this stuff to hurry up and happen. We get, like you said about the turkeys, we get bored. We can't stand it. If you'll sit in that blind long enough, that gobbler's going to walk that tree line on the edge of that field looking for some activity. If you be patient enough on that big gator, he's eventually going to come back up and breathe. I've watched so many people push a gator down and sit there 10 minutes and leave. And I'm like, man, if they only knew, that next time he comes up, now he's out of breath. He's going to stay up that extra minute or two and give you that opportunity to hook him. There's so many tricks that you learn by being patient that, if they would all take the time to learn those, they'd be a lot more successful. And I wouldn't be back at the ramp seeing guys bring in 7-footers on a lake that's got 12-footers and 11-footers and 10-footers everywhere. And I'll educate them at the ramp. Some of them listen and, oh man, appreciate it. And some of them are arrogant, hunters. I don't need to listen to this guy. We know what we're doing. So I wish they would all let me help them, because I would love to, but they don't. So we move on.
That does bring me to something I've been really curious about is when you're hunting gators, what are some good ways to judge the size of it? I see a lot of guys that, they may fill their tags with 2 6-footers, which is fine if you're just you got one night and you're looking to, that's what's in your lake, and you're looking to fill your tags.
Yeah.
But,
oh yeah.
I hate it for somebody that's, they might have a whole season on the first night they tag out because they didn't know what they were going after.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what works, and this will work every time within inches of being perfect, and most everybody who hunts them a lot knows this. When he's, obviously when you see him, he's got his head up above the water. That distance between that nose that's sticking out and the eyes that's sticking out, whatever that equates to or looks like in inches, that's what he is in feet. If you see one and he looks like he's got a 9-inch gap between his nose and his eyes, that's a 9-footer. And you can kill him and go measure him, and it'll be right on the money 100 times in a row. I mean, it never fails. Now, I have been to places, we do have some places here we hunt that the gators are longer and leaner and have a real high food source and tend to grow longer before they grow wider, which width is maturity. Length is just good food quality. So we'll kill a gator that looked like he was only an 8.5-footer that turned out to be a long, skinny 10-footer. So genetics come into play there a little bit, but as a rule of thumb, if you look out there and he's 9 inches from his eyes to his nose, that's a 9-foot alligator. If he's got that little short eyes to nose that you could spread your fingers across, then that's that little 5 or 6-footer. So again, something you learn from experience. If you look out and you see one that looks like he's got a plank between his eyes and nose, that's the one you want. That's the big boys. So, and we kill a lot of giant alligators, what I call my dinosaur hunts, on some of my private ranches that defy that even. I mean, they look like they got a car sitting on top of the water. Their heads are so big, and they're just 13-footers, but they're 1,000-pound 13-footers, so you get to that extremely large size and things start changing. But rule of thumb, for the public land guys, whatever he is in inches between his eyes and nose, that's what he's going to be in feet under the water.
You're talking about a 1,000-pound alligator. How much usable meat
Mm-hmm.
is in that?
Well, I mean, it depends on where that alligator came from. Some of these alligators that we kill off of these ranches that just showed up in a cattle pond, that's probably lived in the swamps his whole life and laid around for a long, long time when he's one of them 900 plus, 800 plus pound alligators. He's got a lot of fat in his meat and he's got a lot of gristle. But still, if I have a man come down, which we do all the time, and kill a 12-footer, and then we take the gator to the processing facility, he's going to take, that gator's going to weigh 750, 800 pounds. He's going to take 130, 140 pounds of processed meat home with him. Of course, the head is enormous. It weighs a ton, and the hide's really heavy, and his skeletal structure is huge. But you get there's a lot of meat. Rule of thumb, an 8-footer is going to have 25 pounds of true good, defatted, degristled, cubed up, packaged processed meat. An 8-footer is going to produce 20 to 25 pounds. A normal 10-footer is going to produce 35 to 40. A big fat one is going to produce 50. So the 8 to 10, you're going to get 20 to 40 pounds of meat, is what, depending on how healthy he is in that span.
Are the smaller ones significantly better eaten, given what you just said with the bigger ones just laying around?
Yeah, I mean, that's just nature. Anytime you kill something smaller than you do an older animal, he's going to have better meat quality. He's not as tough. But the processing facility that I deal with every day in Okeechobee, these people are great. They cut all the fat, all the gristle out of the meat. They run it, they double cube it through commercial cubers, and I could take a piece of meat from a 12-footer, and it's so tender because it was cubed, you wouldn't know the difference. So if it's processed right, it's almost undetectable of what size gator it come off of.
Okay. Well, maybe those guys with the 6-footers aren't so crazy after all. If they're looking just for some good tender meat.
Great meat quality for sure.
Yeah. Adam, you got any more questions about the gator hunting?
No, it covers it on the gator hunting for me.
I guess the only other thing I did want to ask you something. So how about guys that maybe are from a state that don't have gator hunting, or maybe they're just not experienced that and they want to use an outfitter like yourself? What is something that they ought to look for when they're looking for an outfitter that's going to take a gator hunt?
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that do it, and a lot of guys that are, have been doing, of course, ask them how long they've been doing it, and always get references. I don't care how big a name the person's got. Get some references from them, the people you can call, whether they're successful or unsuccessful, and just ask them questions. I mean, we all know there's shady ones as well as there's guys who are legit. I mean, this ain't always the case, but look for a guy that does it for a living full time. I mean, he's the one that's out there every day. If you're hiring a guy who only hunted and hadn't hunted since last Friday night, he's not going to know exactly what them animals are doing, gator, deer, turkey, whatever, So look for that guy that's got the most experience, lifelong as well as, full time versus a part timer guy. Again, not that that's always the case, but just in general stuff to look for. Some of the states have different methods of hunting. Here we're allowed to do 2 or 3 different methods on our public land stuff. On the private land stuff, we don't have any rules for the most part. We own the tags, so you don't have to deal with the lottery. You can call me today and we can go gator hunting tomorrow, year round. We can spot and stalk them, find them sunning on the bank in the daytime and shoot them with a rifle. We can snag them, we can harpoon them, we can bow shoot them. The only thing we can't do is shoot them with a gun at nighttime. If we go out and hunt one at night, we do have to bang stick that gator. Where the public land stuff, you can only bang stick them, and you can snag them, shoot them with a bow or crossbow, or bait them with the peg. That's pretty much the only techniques there. And the public land stuff is a lottery, which is coming up. The application period is May 12th, I believe, this year, and then the drawings happen through May and the first, or through June and the first part of July, and then our season starts August 15th. So there's a whole bunch of units, some that are terrible, some that are great. Of course, the better ones are harder to draw. There's some that I wouldn't waste a stamp to go put in for. So definitely get with somebody who knows, where to go and how to hunt those gators on that particular place.
So maybe if there's a guy that wants to do this, maybe he calls you ahead of time. If he's using his own tag off of public land, that's going to be a lower cost than if he goes on one of your ranches. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the state waters hunts, because we don't have to have the land lease and the insurance and the management of the animals, is always going to be a little cheaper. As a non-resident, by the time you pay the non-resident tag costs, then it's not really any cheaper. You could just come down, hunt with me, and if you pay to go hunt a 10-foot alligator, that's what we're going to kill. Where on the public land, you may want to kill a 10-foot alligator, but you may only kill 2 6s. So the plus side is you're going to get what you come down here for by hunting the public land or private property hunts. The public stuff, you are dealing with the public, and although when I have trophy hunters come down and we do draw an area that I tell them, this is my trophy spot, we'll kill big gators. We still always are dealing with the public, but you just gotta be with somebody who knows how to play those games and how to put you in for the right locations.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I wanted to transition a little bit before we let you go to deer hunting. And one thing we're real interested in talking about is that some of the differences in hunting the South versus hunting some of the Midwest or the Northeast or even out West. Can you talk a little bit about some of the differences of hunting, down here in Florida versus maybe some of your hunts up in the Midwest?
Yeah, sure. Of course, we don't have the genetics that Iowa and Kansas and Illinois has, or any of those states for that matter, and our deer are smaller because of science. Warmer temperatures, cause them to have smaller bodies. It's just the nature of rule. But Florida's producing some better deer. Our state's implemented antler restrictions for the first time about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's going to take 4 or 5 years for people to see the benefit of it. But there will be a benefit from it as long as everybody plays by the rules. Of course, still so many people are going to shoot what they want to shoot, and there's always going to be that. But if everybody plays by the rules, we'll see our younger bucks get a little older because they weren't legally being able to be shot. And Florida's produced some 150-inch deer. Not a lot. It's not common by no means, but certain parts of the state are better than others. Where all my farms are, I'm in a big agricultural area, and we kill a lot of 120, 130-inch deer. So not everybody's got that in their area, but compared to the north, we're not a trophy destination by no means. There'll never be nothing like the Midwest, and even some of the eastern states. Kansas is producing some giants, and it's all because of management. I have a buddy who has a ranch in Kansas, his house is, or not Kansas, Kentucky, and his house, it looks like the inside of Bass Pro Shop from the deer he's killed off of this 600-acre farm, and it's because he has managed them for 20 years, and they're killing. The buck he killed last year was 188 inches, and he does that every year because of management. So if we let them get some age to them, we're going to see better animals anywhere. But we'll never compete trophy-wise with those Midwestern states where they have the better soil with the minerals that antlers need to grow, and of course the food sources. That whole part of the country is soybeans and corn, so deer don't tend to eat pine needles so much, and that's what the better part of Florida is. So hard to grow big antlers off pine needles and roadside bahia grass, so feed your deer, plant good food plots, and let the little ones walk, and you'll see some quality as good as your area can produce. Some places in Florida just aren't going to produce because the soil is terrible, so you just do what you can do and shoot what you can shoot. But traveling up north, if people from the south, if they get that chance, it's unbelievable. It'll ruin you for wanting to hunt down here, I promise you. But they do produce some giants up there, and a lot of it's just because of management and what the states have done to regulate their herds. The success stories are great.
What's your favorite state to hunt whitetails in?
I've killed so many big whitetails that I've become a muley freak now. I'm wanting to kill. I've killed several 180 pluses, a lot of 160, 170s, and I'm about ready to go to Sonora, Mexico, to get me one of them giant desert muleys this year or next January. But as far as whitetail, I think the bulk of my big whitetails come out of Iowa. I love muzzleloader hunting. I've wrote a lot of articles about muzzleloader hunting for magazines, and Iowa has a late season muzzleloader hunt. And if the weather plays right in your advantage, and it's absolutely freezing cold. I'm talking single digits, snow on the ground. It drives those deer to food. The rut's over, and those big bucks that were being smart all year are now starving to death. So it really puts the odds in your favor if you got the right piece of property of killing a giant. And I've killed some giants during that late season muzzleloader hunt in Iowa. And I've killed big bucks in a bunch of states. I outfitted for 8 years in Kansas, so we shot a lot of big deer there too. But I think if somebody said you can only whitetail hunt in one state for the rest of your life, except for the tough draw, Iowa is hard to beat. The river bottoms of Nebraska are pretty awesome too. And of course, me and my wife and my cousin and his wife all drew our Montana tags this year. So we'll be hunting the Powder River and the Milk River in Montana this year. So
oh wow, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the Midwest or the Western states on them river bottoms, the cool part about there is you see so many deer. I mean, you go on any of that river bottom land in places like Montana, that's public land if you know how to access it. And seeing 100 deer a day is normal day in the places that I've hunted. So it'll ruin you. It makes you not want to come back to Florida and go hunting, I promise you.
Yeah, it's a little different than what I normally see down here.
Yeah, I know. I know what you mean, and it's great out in them western states. I've killed a lot of elk in Montana, and I think I'm over elk hunting. You know, I'm a flatlander is what they call us up there, and I don't do mountains anymore. So I probably shot my last elk, and I'm good with that. You know, so I do like killing big muleys. I've killed some giants in South Dakota, and I got a friend who's an outfitter out there. And I know a bunch of outfitters out there. If anybody needs to know a prime time place to go, or if you shoot one, it's which one you shoot. I know the places to go in South Dakota. There's some monster mule deer out there.
I do know you still do some hunting here in Florida though, because I've seen some pictures of the deer you and your wife have gotten off of your local farms. And you mentioned food plots. I wanted to ask you. I think you may even do some farming yourself up there. What should guys be thinking about with their food plots this time of year? You know, we're coming up on the summer, so obviously it's going to be real tough to plant something right now. But what should guys be doing to get ready for the fall?
Well, right now we are spraying fields to kill the grass. You know, using glyphosate, Roundup type products, and getting ready to put our iron clay peas in. Some fields we have already had our peas planted. Typically, early season iron clay peas won't produce a bean pod. It'll just produce the plant. You know, however that plant is genetically altered, it until about August or July, it won't start growing a bean pod. So we plant an early season stand of iron clay peas on all of our properties for the leaves. The leaves are about 14% protein. That's good to get our deer started. Of course, we supplement also, and then we'll let them eat them down through the summer. I'll till everything under in July. And in beginning of August, I'll plant another stand of the same exact stuff, iron and clay peas. It is my best deer puller, deer drawer, food source. They live in it, and they just eat it like it's gold. I've planted everything else that there is to plant, and nothing in our area draws deer like iron and clay peas do. I mean, it can compete with anything there is. And here lately, since we've not had any winters to speak of in the last several years, we're hunting over it right into fall. I mean, right into, if it stays green and a frost don't kill it, right into winter, I leave it standing. And then as soon as we do have a frost that kills it down, I immediately plow it under, and I'll plant my winter stand, which is going to be some type of a forage oat or a cover crop like wheat, which is to give the deer some green to eat with a little bit of nutrition in it, but as much to put nitrogen back in my soil to be ready for next summer. So it's kind of got a double play there. And everybody likes hunting over a pretty green spot. A lot of people plant rye. Deer don't care much about eating rye. Plant wheat or a forage oat is really a good stuff too. As long as you got a good deer herd to eat it down. If you plant oats, it'll grow crazy on you if you ain't got enough deer to eat it down, and then you won't be able to hunt that food plot for turkeys because it'll be a jungle. So depending on what area you're in, there's different things to use, and learning how to use the equipment that we have today and and it's expensive. A lot of people can't afford to do it. They go buy a little bag of seed and they chop up a spot with their 4-wheeler and do what they can do to get a green patch, and it works. It makes you feel good to hunt over a green spot, and the deer are showing up and eating. So do what you can do. But I love planting food plots. I'll help anybody. I have all the most expensive equipment you can get. I mean, I have top of the line everything because I love doing it so much. And if anybody in my area ever needs help planting food plots or managing their property, I'm on it. That's my favorite thing. I love doing it.
Might be having to give you a call.
Yeah, I'd be glad to.
Can we talk a little bit more about iron clay peas? Because I know that's not what you normally hear about with a lot of the northern properties. You know, you almost hear about, clover and all that kind of stuff. So can you maybe just walk us through what it takes to grow it? And I know one issue I've heard with peas is a lot of times the deer will eat them down before they can even get out of the ground, and you end up with nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, now if you have a 100-yard long by 10-foot strip, no, iron clay peas is not for you. You're always going to battle getting anything to do anything there, especially in the summer if you try to plant a pea, it's going to get 3 inches tall, and you're going to be like, cool, look at my pretty peas, and you're going to come back in 3 days and you're going to be like, what happened to my peas? They're gone because the 4 or 5 does will walk through there in one night and snip them all right off. And then of course they're not a forage that keep producing like a brassica would. So we struggle with that a lot, honestly. Them little small plots, I don't tend to use them as much for my summer nutritional spots because they don't hold. A legume's going to be one of your best nutritional plants, which is a pea or a bean of some sort, and they just won't hold up. You either have to fence them in, use some of that deer repellent, use Milorganite fertilizer, something on them to keep them off of it until it can get a stand going where it can sustain itself. If you don't have the ability to do that on the small plot, then don't waste your time and effort planting a 1/4 acre of iron clay peas because they're not going to be there a week after they get 3 inches tall. So look into something else that's good for the pH of your soil. Do a soil test. Try to get your pH right. If people would read about what a plant needs to grow and produce, it's a whole lot more than just throwing a seed on the ground and standing back and letting it do its thing. It needs so many micro and macronutrients to make it produce that it can make your eyeballs want to pop out of your head when you start reading it all. But a simple soil test and a line pH balancer can make that possible to where the plants are able to, pH is what allows some of the stuff that's in the soil to release to go to your plant and can make a huge difference. So, and then from there, based on what kind of soil you have, plant, I honestly don't have an answer for some of these guys who have I got a spot that's 10 yards wide and 100 yards long. What should I plant there? Plant some grass in it. I mean, you're not going to grow an alfalfa or a clover stand down here in Florida because they can't tolerate this heat that we have. I mean, it burns them up in the summer, and they're a perennial, so there's something that's designed to be taken care of throughout the year. Well, when we have these temperatures and these droughts that we have, they're just gone. And if you try to wait for them to come back in the fall, you may or may not even get any, or it would be real sparse. So you wasted your time. So look for some of the graze type of grasses, like a fescue or some kind of even a milo or a grain sorghum. Just something to get something growing there that'll attract the wildlife. But peas is not the answer for, like you said, for those small plots that get wiped out. So, if you ain't got an acre plus, don't even bother with iron and clay peas because the deer will tear them up.
Something I've had a little bit of success with the last couple of years is chicory. Do you have much experience with that?
Yeah, it's I plant some of that in the late fall as our peas die off. I'll plant some chicory and even blend some turnips in with it. Give it some real late season attractants, hoping for a winter. So again, a lot of them need specific pH balances and use your soil test, and then go on sites like Biologics has a great website through Mossy Oak that you can read about their blends and exactly what that seed or that blend likes, what kind of soil it likes, how much sunlight it gets, how well the soil drains, and use that kind of stuff to determine, what works for your time of year and for your type of soil and the sunlight and the water that you get. So a lot of people ask way too much of their area, to plant certain things that they do plant. You just got to do a little bit of research or call somebody who knows. Again, I'd be glad to help anybody anytime, but just get a little bit of information, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of money out. And when you do it wrong and it dies, it sucks, and it makes you not want to do it again next year because you think it don't work. And it does if you do it right. It 100% works. And it's why you see some of the pictures that I post and some of the antlers that my deer grow, because of what we feed them. And 99% of it's what we plant, not supplements, because we don't feed a lot of protein. We'll feed a little bit of minerals just to help boost those antlers, but most of what they get is off of what we plant.
Adam, you got any other questions?
Well, you're a well-traveled hunter. I would love to know, what is your favorite species to hunt in the United States?
Oh, well, I want to say at this point in my life is hunting giant mule deer. And probably in location, I would say in my favorite place right now that I can't wait every year to go back to is hunting the Cheyenne River breaks in South Dakota. The number of big giant muleys that I see there every year, and the challenge that it is to put a stalk on a big buck with a herd of does in that country, in them canyons, and sometimes up on the hills in the open ground. It's so much fun. And right now I think I would be stuck with saying trophy mule deer is what my goal is now. I have no more room on my walls for whitetails. I have so many that I have them on the floor behind my couch. So
you got to build a bigger barn, right?
Well, I'm working on a trophy room right now. Actually a man cave, so I can put some of these deers out there. But the big 180 plus muleys are something. They dwarf whitetails as far as the frame size goes, and I love antlers. I'm an antler freak.
I've been out west a few times, and I went mule deer hunting in Montana one time, and we didn't see any big bucks. But when I was in Colorado elk hunting this past year, we saw a muley that, I don't know, he might have went 140. He was bigger than that. Maybe let's say 160. But that thing was so stinking wide. I've just never, whitetails don't get as wide as a muley. And it just went to run across the road like
exactly.
It did. Whew, it made me want to get a mule deer tag real quick.
Yeah, they're impressive to look at, no doubt. You kill a 170 plus, and he's got a big, wide frame. Look for them deep forks on top and bottom, and that's an impressive animal to look at, no doubt about it. I'm crazy about him right now.
You got maybe a story of a recent hunt on one of those mule deer you can tell us about?
Yeah, actually, just this past winter, me and a buddy of mine went out and hunted with the outfitter friend of mine in South Dakota, and we had a blizzard come through, and it was really nasty, and we knew we was going to have about a day and a half left of our 3-day hunt. And my buddy Vinny, he killed his buck the first day because he was scared of the blizzard, and he made a mistake. He shot a 140 class deer, which ain't a bad deer, but that's nothing compared to what's at this place. So then he stuck hunting with me, being picky. Well, the next day, midday, we drop into the canyons, and we parked up on top of this one knob that I like to park on top of every year in glass, because I can see like 3 draws for 2 miles. And the first draw we look down, which is my favorite one, first thing I see is a set of horns that looks like an elk walking away, but of course there's no elk there, and I knew it was a muley. So we pull out the spot and scope, and we get on this herd of deer, and there's one there that's easily 200 inches. He is just Mr. Big Stuff. I mean, I just about had a heart attack. And there's another buck with him that's pushing 180. So I'm looking them over really, really hard to get in my head which one is which for when I make my stalk in there. And then there's probably 15 does in this group. So we get a game plan together, and we know we're fixing to go for a 2-hour stalk, because first off, it's knee deep in snow, and they're 2 miles away down in the bottom of some canyons in the Cheyenne River breaks. So we drop off the mountain, and we side hill the backside, and this stuff's treacherous. You feel like you're going to fall off the mountain at any time because you're trudging through snow. And we get to where we know we're getting close, and we peek up over a saddle because they're in the next ridge over from us. Meanwhile, the whole time we're walking in, we're bumping muley, big bucks out the other side that we never even seen. But I'm keeping to task and headed for this big buck. And we finally get to where we knew they were over the next knob. Now, we don't know if this herd's moved or not, but I know the 2 fingers that they go up, and so I knew they weren't going far. we finally popped over the knob and got down behind some cedars, and the whole herd of does is bedded on the hillside across from us. They're 100 yards away, straight across. Can't really move a lot. And then in my head, I had a feeling that those two big bucks had went up this little finger draw to the right, and I needed to get one more knob over so I could see up there. So for an hour, we sat there and waited, hoping these muleys would leave. I finally decided, you know what? Let's just step out in the open and stand still, not scare them to death, but maybe they'll get up and not like it and go over the top and just and leave us. And it worked. We got out in the open. Most of them stood up and didn't like what they saw, and they eased up over the timber and disappeared, so they didn't spook where I think the big buck was. 3 stayed underneath the cedar tree, bedded down, but they just felt like they were so hidden that I felt like they weren't going to move. So I dropped on down to where I was actually 60 yards from them, and I could see around the corner up this draw, and standing on the side of the hill was just giant. He was just giant. And he happened to be coming back to this herd of does that was right in front of us. So to watch him come down through that creek bottom, and if you've seen a picture of him, this deer had no neck. He was just shoulders and head. It was the same size. I mean, he was a monster. And I was pretty excited, and I didn't look him over super good. I just knew that is a monster. I'm shooting that deer if I get the opportunity. He come up through some cedars and disappeared for a minute right in front of us, literally, but you couldn't see him. But we knew he was in there because he's raking the trees and knocking snow off of these little cedar trees. And me and my buddy are just on pins and needles waiting for this thing to come out. And he come finally out and gave me the prettiest shot you ever seen in your whole life. Broadside, 78 yards, just like a pitcher standing on the hill-covered side of a mountain. And I let that 270 go off, and he'd run about 10 yards and nose dove in the ground. When he hit the ground, in my head, I knew that wasn't that monster buck that was here. But I also told myself, I don't know if he ain't done left up that next finger. You know, it's hard to let a 180-inch deer walk when you ain't even sure what the bigger one did. Well, after I shot him and glassed him and made sure he was down, my buddy said, hey, look over there. And I looked where he came from, and there was that giant stood up on the hillside 200 yards away, chip shot. And he, if he wasn't 200 inches, he wasn't an inch. Biggest mule deer I ever seen in my life. And I told the outfitter, Matt, my buddy, I said, when I come back next year, I'm going home without a deer unless it's one of those. I'm not going to shoot another 180-inch deer, which is ridiculous to pass on.
Yeah.
But You're not going to kill a 200-inch deer if you shoot the first 180 you see. They're there. We know they're there. There's a bunch killed every year. I just gotta not do it, you know. But the picture that buck gave us walking on that hillside, like you see him on TV, all stiff-legged, bowed up. I mean, he literally didn't have a neck. He was just a black mane from his chest to his head. It was just a huge animal. And I could never have passed him up, and I probably wouldn't pass him up next year. I say I will, but I probably wouldn't. But I got to kill me a 200-plus inch muley, and that's the place to do it. Or, of course, going to Mexico. But Mexico is some absurd money to go down there and kill a muley. I mean, them desert muley hunts are $9,000 to $12,000, and I'm going to do it. But that's crazy because I could go to South Dakota 3 times for that kind of money. You know, so,
you got the bug, man.
Yeah, I'm infected with it. I tell you right now, we go a lot every year. My wife is my deer hunter here in Florida. She's traveled with me some. She'll be in Montana this year, but I turn her loose on my farms every year, and we live off of deer meat. We live off of what we catch and kill, and it takes about 12 or 13 deer, processed deer, for us to get through the year. That's what we eat. So I'll hunt a little bit and shoot a good buck if I see one. Of course, she's always hunting big bucks, but when it's doe time, I turn her loose, and she fills all of our doe tags, and she kills whatever I let her kill. If I cut her off at 10 or 12, that girl will stay in the tree stand all day long. I got to make her get out sometimes. I mean, she is just ridiculously infected with this whitetail stuff, and she's really good at it. She's killed some impressive bucks. Her biggest ever was a bow kill, was a 131-inch deer that she killed right here on our farms in Florida. So
that's impressive.
She's hardcore, and she'll by God sit there until the sun goes down and don't come back up, and before you can make her get out of the tree. So it's cool seeing her do it, and she loves it, and she'd go up there and do it when I'm at the house. She's not one of them women that just follow their husband to deer camp. She's up there while I'm working, and she'll skin it herself and put it in the cooler. And actually, her and my cousin's wife, they do processing for a lot of people, so they process 30 deer a week during hunting season. So they're pretty hardcore about it. So
she stays busy then.
Stuff. Fun. Yeah, she does. Sometimes it gets in the way of her hunting and she gets aggravated with it, but they make pretty good little bit of money off of it. It pays for her to go hunting somewhere every year, so works out good.
What kind of hunting does she primarily do? You have like preset stands and food plots? Is that mostly what she does?
Here's how it works. I have a whole bunch of different food plots and a whole bunch of different tree stands with cameras going. And when summer comes and the bucks start growing their horns and the biggest bucks start showing up at their little private spot that they like, that becomes her spot. So, I have a stand that I put up to where I hunt at, but if a big buck starts showing up on that camera, I don't get to hunt there no more. I've been kicked out of that spot. That's hers. So she hunts wherever the biggest deer are, and I get the scraps. That's pretty much how that works.
But then she lets you go to Mexico and kill a $10,000 deer. Yeah,
I'm perfectly good with that. I love it. This past season in Florida, I shot one deer. I shot a doe during archery season, and that's all. I mean, I sit a lot and watch a lot of deer, and I don't shoot hardly nothing. But I know she's out there filling the freezer, and all my kids shoot deer. My 4-year-olds killed deer. Or my daughter, who's 8, she killed her first deer when she was 4. And both of my boys have killed a pile of deer, so it's all for them. And I guide a few deer hunters on some of our farms. I'll take people either on a doe hunt or a 3-day buck hunt. But I only do a handful a year because that's not what I do on my farms in Florida. They're for clients for Osceola turkeys, but for deer season, that's kind of our thing. But again, if people call, I will take 2 or 3 guys a year deer hunting just to give them somewhere to come and kill them a deer, because we do have a lot of deer.
Well, speaking of that, what's the best way if somebody's interested in doing a hunt with you? What's the best way somebody can get a hold of you?
Well, they can go through the website, which is Deep South Outfitter, no S on the end, just deepsouthoutfitter.com. Deep South Outfitter has a Facebook page. You can go there and contact me through that. You can call off the website, email off the website. Just Google search Captain Billy Henderson. It'll come up in a million places because there's, when you do it for a long time, that's how it automatically works. Facebook is great. My name is on Facebook. Deep South Outfitters on Facebook, and my boat company, Microdraft Boats, is also on Facebook. So there's a lot of ways to get in touch with me.
Tell me about your boat company.
Well, Microdraft Boats we started building wood skiffs about 15 or 16 years ago. When I was younger, it's actually been longer than that. It's been almost 20 years ago. I needed a skiff that could get in the shallow places where I grew up fishing on mullet boats. And I built the 20-foot long, 8-foot wide wooden skiff with the 25-horse Mercury on it. And it evolved into what it is today, which is a full-blown company, Coast Guard certified boats, all out of composites, 100% rot-proof, no wood. And we keep a 2-year back order on these things and never stops. And we've shipped them from the Bahamas to North Carolina to Texas to everywhere in Florida. It's just going crazy. It's a 20-foot long, 8-foot wide tunnel skiff that legitimately runs in 1 inch of water and floats in about 4. And it's 8 foot wide, so it's extremely stable. And it'll do that with 4 or 5 people in it, which is what a lot of these little technical skiffs aren't able to do, carry a load. And it fishes great. It's just wide and stable, and it's just a unbelievable machine that sells itself. When somebody's ready to buy one, all they got to do is let me take them for a ride, and they're writing me a check. They can't stand it. It's the funniest thing ever. I mean, I've never had anything in my life so easy to sell as that boat, because if you're a fisherman and you fish like we do, and you know what's back there, and then you go for a ride in this boat, I see their little wheels turning in their head like, oh my gosh, where I could go in this thing. So it's again, we stay. Right now we're about 12 months back ordered. We just come inside of 2 years, and we're trying to get caught up, but it never works. I mean, I have a dozen dealers that say, build me a boat whenever you get caught up. Well, that's not happened in 10 years. So we got some great products that we're building them out of from a couple of key companies that are supplying us with our composite materials and Yamaha outboards. And we got a heck of a little niche going on that's really turning into something, and it could get a lot bigger if I wanted it to, but I don't want it to yet because it interrupts with my hunting and fishing. So.
I don't blame you there.
Well, thanks so much. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Billy. man, I feel like we covered a ton of topics. Man, I'm having a hard time talking here, but I feel like we covered a ton of stuff. I certainly learned a lot about turkey hunting, gator hunting, and deer hunting down here in the South. So I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us.
No problem. I'm glad to help. And if anybody wants to get a hold of me and got any questions about anything, whether it be public land turkey hunting places to go, how to deal with this gator hunting stuff, or top places to put in for, you will never hear somebody say that guy hides information from you, because I'll tell you the best spot I know right now. That's how I am, because I have a million spots, so I don't hide that one honey hole. I'll be glad to help any of y'all's listeners out that ever need it.
Well, man, I sure appreciate that. I might be having to send you some text messages before this draw comes up on this gator hunt. So I'm excited about it, man. Just hearing you talk about some of those big gators got me excited about putting in for this draw.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
All right, man. Well, like I said, thanks again, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Good talking to you, Billy.
Hey, Adam, man, I learned a lot on that phone call. What'd you think?
I did too. I've really been wanting to hunt Osceola turkeys for a long time, and I've been trying to work some things out with some people I know down in Florida, and even I got a buddy that knows an outfitter down there. But I'm kind of a DIY guy, and I've been wanting to do a public land hunt. Now Billy's got me thinking maybe I just want to maybe possibly use him. But the information that we got, specifically on that topic, for me, is just outstanding, and I got a lot taken away from it. How about you?
Man, I'm excited about this gator hunt draw coming up. I'll be putting in for that. But one thing I thought was cool about the conversation is, obviously Billy's got a little different style of hunting than maybe what I normally do with the outfitting. But he had some really good information both for the DIY guy and somebody that is looking for something a little more set up ahead of time. So I thought it was real cool to kind of hear both sides of the coin and maybe what some of the differences were with that as well.
Definitely. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about our sponsors?
Man, we got somebody to sponsor this dumpster fire already.
We got two of the best companies in the world to sponsor this dumpster fire.
Oh, that's right. Those two companies are us.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
We've got Hunting Gear Deals. Yeah, Hunting Gear Deals, my company. Make sure you guys check that out for any hunting gear you're going to be looking for. And, just reminder, check that every day, see what's up on there. You never know, there might be something you need or keep your eye out. And Adam, why don't you tell us a little about Grizzly Bean Coffee?
Yep. So I got fresh roasted small batch coffee. I've got a goal this year to join 2% conservation next year. So I want to give back 1% of all sales from Grizzly Bean Coffee back to conservation. That's going to go RMEF, BHA, and NWTF, and still trying to figure all of the pieces of that puzzle out. But all I'm trying to say is if you buy Grizzly Bean Coffee, you get great tasting coffee. It's freshly roasted, and you're giving back to conservation. So I'd appreciate it.
That's really cool. And make sure you guys check the show notes for the show. I'm going to put a bunch of links up to Billy's stuff and maybe some of the other topics that we talked about. And also, please give us a rating and review on iTunes or Podbean or whatever you're listening to, and tell your hunting buddies about the show. Let's get this thing growing quick.
And hit that subscribe button.
Definitely. All right, Adam, it's been fun. Until next time, I don't know. We don't have a tagline yet, but do something cool.
Do something cool. Hunt the South.
Yeah, Down South Hunting Podcast. Do something cool. Have a good one.
You too. See ya.